Croeso, hello, welcome back to RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. There were fireworks, grizzly bears, and hundreds of you who came to say hello as we went to Vancouver to see Wrexham FC poutine on a show. A pun so good we've now used it twice on the podcast. And Nath, it was a white capped off with a victory as well. How is the jet lag? How was Vancouver? How are your withdrawals of not spending every second with me?
I didn't realise I'd have to speak to you again so soon. I thought this was going to be a bit further away than it was, but I feel like I've seen so much. I feel like I've seen so much more of you in the last week than I probably did all of last season when we had those 90 minutes together that all added up. No, yeah, very good fun. The jet lag hit me today, actually, when we're recording this, because I stupidly missed a rearranged Spanish class. So I had to apologise in English and in Spanish to my teacher. Such was the jet lag. But no, all fine. Very much enjoyed the trip. I know people have been watching the daily vlogs, sending messages about those. And people seem to enjoy them. Rich seem to enjoy watching us amble around and, those British idiots abroad that, you're watching do all these crazy things. But yeah, we were really well looked after out there, not only by sort of locals and, Jeff put us up. And I know people were asking about Jeff's origin story. We'll get it one day, maybe next year. We'll see. But, the tourism board out there as well, really looked after us. The Pint Pub, they were really good to Wrexham fans as well. So, yeah, an amazing trip. And I think it was a great trip all round. I know we were speaking to people that went to all the destinations, but Vancouver was the one, I think, for us, wasn't it, Rich? And it exceeded, I thought, my expectations.
It was mega. The only negative, really, from the tour for me is that everyone has now seen how much more work you put in than I do. It seems like every comment on every vlog was Nathan puts in all the hard yards, and I've got no interest in being on the vlog. Like I said last week's podcast, though, I offered to do vlogging. I said I'll happily take the camera, and you just didn't trust me. You mustn't have travel insurance for me or something, or cover. I don't know what it is, but
no. But Rich, people were also saying in the comments how good looking you were and how good looking Andy Gilpin was, who was also in the video.
Dad.
So I was going to say either they're your burner accounts, you and Andy, that are just spamming all the comments. I mean, everyone was like, "Oh wow, Rich and Andy are so good looking," and I was taking second-hand offence from no one telling me about my dashing good looks. So if you can all please go.
Sounds like you're fishing for compliments here, doesn't it?
I'm not even fishing. I'll be setting up burners or something to counteract yours and Andy's burners. But no, yeah, very good fun. I thought weirdly the Lumberjack show, which I had essentially no expectation for, was very good fun. It's a bit silly, but very good fun nonetheless, Rich. It was just a great trip, and if you ever get on these pre-season trips, even if it's just one leg of the tour, yes, the football is not, we're not seeing heavyweights again. It wasn't Chelsea's top team, and it wasn't Vancouver Whitecaps' top team, but it was very good fun, and you got to celebrate a lot of Wrexham goals and a lot of great performances. I think this was, on the football side at least, a much more progressive and positive tour than the one I went to a year ago.
Absolutely. I spoke to my dad today and he was saying how impressed he was just with the results, really, from what he'd watched. He watched the games back. He said, with the Bournemouth and Chelsea games particularly, the results are still very impressive considering where we came from a year previously, and particularly I think the Bournemouth one, that's the game I think we definitely could have won, to be honest, and gave them a good match. And everyone will say, "Oh, it's not Bournemouth's strongest team. They haven't clicked yet. They're only very start of pre-season." Well, it was basically the start of pre-season for us, other than that Hanley game as well. So, very impressed with the way it's gone. Newfound respect for North American fans, like we said. After I missed out on my Bolton ticket, after I got Sheffield United tickets, I stayed up till I think 1:30 in the morning, and then passed out half an hour before the Bolton tickets went on sale. So, if anyone's listened to the podcast and has a Bolton spare, please do spare it for someone at RobRyanRed who doesn't have one at this moment in time. Out of my own foolishness, because we did drink quite a lot that night. It was like Clamato with a Caesar, was it? I drank a Caesar. Anyone in Canada will know what that is.
I mean, one of the worst things. Yeah, one of the worst things I've drank. That it was. I don't know under any circumstance why you would drink that. I know people were saying, "Oh, it helps you get over a hangover." I think that would sort of.
Yeah, you don't have it during a night out. You have it the morning after. It's meant to be the sort of Canadian Bloody Mary, was it? It had clam juice, tomato juice, and a wiener dog in it. And I don't want to turn my stomach thinking about it. To be honest, Rich, it was awful, but it definitely left you worse for wear. I think I was
much, much, much slower than most of the guys out there drinking. I think I was having one for every three or something like that. It was maybe sensible, maybe slow. I don't know what it was, but I was okay. You passed out next to me as I was editing the vlog on the sofa at 1:30. You did so well, and then it got to 2 a.m. and no Bolton ticket for you. So fingers crossed you can get one. But yeah, as we suspected, Rich, tickets going thick and fast. We've had the uproar over the temp cop. We mentioned that last week a little bit, the fan zone and the mandatory fan zone for certain seats in there. They were obviously selling super quick. Reading tickets are on sale, I think, from Friday for members. The home game against Reading. Obviously, tickets have already gone on sale for Sheffield United and for Bolton, and soon it'll be, tickets for Peterborough, Shrewsbury, Birmingham soon, So in demand as we expected. So hot on the trigger, because seemingly that loyalty scheme that was drafted up and was spoken about in the advisory board minutes all the way back in April, no sign. So
the only reason I went to Vancouver was to get some top red points. Really annoying. I think we're not going to name this listener either, but are we going to give a kind of shout out to the guy who messaged us, telling us he said it was 2 weeks ago. He said it was the first time he'd ever listened to Rob Ryan Red podcast, and he sent us the suggestion for the best adult entertainment in Vancouver, which sadly we didn't have time to go to. But yeah, thank you to mysterious listener who tipped us off about that late night establishment.
I mean, it was in a neighbourhood that neither you or I had any business being in, and it was the type of establishment.
But we did accidentally walk past it during the daytime, so maybe we did have business.
Maybe. We didn't go there, so we're keeping it PG. But yeah, the listener, very, very funny. One and only email, one and only suggestion, which was a late night dance hall of some description.
Yeah. Nath, speak about Whitecaps then. Like I said, looking back on the tour in general, I guess the real litmus test is when we play Wycombe Wanderers, because no doubt if we were to drop points on the opening day, there'd be some fans saying, well, why are you going to the bloody North America to play preseason games? The WST went to Nantwich, we were fine, we were winning opening days there, we draw 0-0 Dover on the opening day. I think it's been a very productive tour. Just seeing firsthand sort of Wrexham fever in in North America and Canada and States is bewildering. How far people were travelling to get to games. There was one guy, did he come from Iowa? Just go to the Welsh event on the Friday night. We had fans who'd been to every single preseason game, including the men's and the women's. We had obviously fans in Canada who would, you think, oh, the game's in Vancouver, so being in Canada's fine, but they travelled 5-6 hours just to be there. And just the dedication, the hunger for Wrexham is still, crazy. And even being in BC Place, where it always looks a bit of a disadvantage because the stadium's kind of half full, or is it half empty? Depends if you're negative or not. But there's 35,000 people in there watching Wrexham versus Whitecaps B team. It's absolutely crazy the level of support we had out there. And yeah, I'm just really impressed mainly, not just off the pitch, but like we said, on the pitch, the way we handle ourselves, the squad depth that, we have spoken about it, but right now it's looking at an all new level. If you look back at previous Wrexham squads, obviously with revisionism and hindsight, it's easy to pick sort of parts in them and say, oh, that guy wasn't as good as we thought he was, this, that, and the other. But looking at the Wrexham squad now, Nate, we are stacked. I'm just really impressed with the way we handled ourselves against that opposition.
Yeah, now you've been out there, and I'm not saying that, you really against the tour previously, but now you've been out there and seen it and seen the benefits that it brings. And it's different. It is different to last year. Last year was heavily disrupted. You had that storm game against Philadelphia. No one was really getting up to 80, 90 minutes or even close to that. I think when you get to Wycombe, whatever happens in that game, I really don't think you can be pointing fingers at a much improved tour. Really, I think everything's gone right, and we can't be revisionist. If we end up drawing or losing to Wycombe on the opening day, we have got a home friendly against Fleetwood before then, so there'll be no questions of jet lag or feeling the hangover of all that. So the tour offers these players unbelievable access facilities that we just wouldn't even get close to when they went to UNC in North Carolina. They were at UCLA this time. Incredible facilities that are available to these college kids, and we're talking professional athletes in this country. Not everyone has gyms like it and basketball courts, and we saw George Evans on the basketball court doing a no look over the head swish shot, which if you haven't seen that, it's just there's nothing that man can't do. But it's not the. I really don't think this time around we can be pointing fingers at the tour. The tour has so many benefits beyond the football. If anything, it's a bit like our trip, Rich. The best part is everything that goes around the match. The match itself it can be fun. It might not be, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I think on this occasion, you'd have to say that they saw the errors of last time, they fixed them mostly, and you managed to get 32,000, 35,000 sold out Harder Stadium. There was a lot of people there, and I stand by what I said previously. The club should have took jerseys out there by the thousands. I know they're going to be available today in the Wrexham shop in person. When you listen to this out on Thursday, 1st of August, they're going to be all three kits. The black shirt, we're going to get onto that shortly, the red home shirt and the gold kit. They're all going to be available. But I just think they could have sold them at a huge price, because not only did we go into the Vancouver Whitecaps official store, you at least got to open your eyes and see firsthand just how much everything costs over in North America.
I'm not going to take back my criticism of the clothing range that was still obscenely priced earlier in the year, but you understand why. I mean, a jersey in the States is in North America and the States is costing about $200. That is just the going rate. So even if you sold a Wrexham jersey at an inflated price of like $100 or $120, it's a relative bargain in the North American market, which is bewildering. It also does just explain so much why lots of fans are prepared to pay more money than we actually have for tickets at the moment. It explains why some of them are used to just paying that premium on a match day. It doesn't mean that they agree with it. It's just something that they're sort of conditioned to and that they're used to doing. And yeah, it did just open my eyes a lot about sort of the dedication that a lot of these North American fans have, because it's very easy to be cynical. But when people are putting that sort of money, I know, the trend in North America is they have more expendable income than most of us do in the United Kingdom. But when you're putting that sort of money into supporting a club, you're driving those distances to watch what is a meaningless friendly. And you're getting up at 2 a.m. to watch games or to buy tickets for a game you're not even guaranteed to be able to go to. That is a level of dedication, and hats off to them. There is a huge element of respect there. Must say I've got a bit of sympathy though for the supporters sat in front of us at the game who was googling why is Paul Mullen not playing and who is Wrexham's number 31 winner. Was it 31? I think. Well, whenever Mark Howard came on, they were googling his squad number, saying who is this guy? They came to see Paul Mullen. They hadn't sort of twigged that he wasn't on the tour whatsoever. So they got everyone but Paul Mullen, but they didn't get the man himself. The Whitecaps game, though, Nath, pretty straightforward. Again, we were speaking to Jeff, who we were staying with, who, supports Whitecaps. So he was able to give his insight on the context of the game a bit more. And he was saying that, this is effectively a second string Whitecaps game. They're not taking it too seriously because they had cup commitments coming up anyway. But regardless of that, you can only beat the team in front of you. I was impressed with Wrexham because I missed out on Hanley. It was the first time seeing them in person, many of these new players, and seeing the team sort of click. Very impressed by Seb Revan.
Yeah, Seb Revan is immensely talented. That's just the fact of it. He's very, very good, very quick. And I think what the Villa fan that came on the pod maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago, I think he's right. And, I'm not surprised that he is. I don't want to sound too surprised in my voice, but he was right in that his strength, Revan's strength, is going forward. He just always looks a danger in behind. He's got that pace, that dynamism that I would also say that Mendy has, but just in the early stage, I just think Revan maybe looks slightly more refined. Mendy still looks a little bit raw in key moments. So Revan, just looks brilliant. I think he's still got a bit to do defensively. You saw him give the ball away. I think it was in the lead to their goal, and that got punished. So you can expect a lot more of that in League One. But what I would say is, on the evidence of what we've seen over the tour, Seb Revan really should be your starting left wing back, really, because he's got such a high ceiling, and players need to grow into their roles. What value will there be if he comes in for a game, is out for 3, comes on for the last 15? Players like that need consistency, and I do think with the back 5, you want it as consistent as possible. I've kind of settled on Ryan Barnett on the other side. I would say that Luke Bolton has had good moments on this tour, scored his first goal for Wrexham, looked quite lively when he came on, I thought, against the Whitecaps, but Barney, I think he's raised his game another level, and he's been one of those. We don't know what he's going to look like in League One. Hasn't really got a rich history in that league, so he's really tried to elevate his game and look some really good nick. The back three, Owen O'Connell captained the side against the Whitecaps. We sort of expected that when he did the media day the day before. Max, I just think you have to pick, and Lewis Brunt's a really interesting one because he's played over the tour. He's played on the left, the right, and in the middle. Tom O'Connor as well as an option. So I would try my best to really settle on a back five that, when fit, you would pick them all the time, because that can only stand you in good stead going forward, because we know that it's going to be Arthur Okonkwo in behind, and consistency, much like I say with the podcast and YouTube and every element of my life, Rich, consistency wins out in the end.
Yeah, it's and again, another plug for the YouTube, RobRyanRed on there if you haven't subscribed already, and watch those vlogs, and there's some shorts as well going up there, and you'll also hopefully in the long term maybe able to watch some clips of previous player interviews and stuff that we've still got on our computers that we can sort of bring to your attention, because I think when you uploaded a clip, didn't you, of Peter Moore the other week, and people were like, "Oh, this is a great podcast. When's this out?" And it's like, "Oh, this was out months ago," but people hadn't seen it, so it's difficult there. So yeah, if you want all our stuff, again, we hate to hammer it too much, but this is a free podcast. If you can just subscribe to us on all the platforms that you use, that would be really, really helpful to help us grow and continue to do so. You mentioned there the back five, and yeah, Revan and Barnett, I think for me, are definitely the two starters for the new season. I just think they bring other players into the game a lot more as well, because they're so good with their deliveries into the box, which will be crucial in the first few games of the season when Welshpool is missing up front. Who else stood up for you on the tour then, Nath? James McLean for me always stands out just because he can't not play at full throttle. We've talked about the Colwell incident on last week's podcast. Even in this one, he was just man possessed. His fitness levels are absolutely obscene, and he just never ever stops. I was impressed with Dobson as well on the tour. I thought his passing looks really good. Just the way he sort of can do the diagonal. I know there's almost in football, it's almost like a cliche that you praise a player who can play a diagonal pass regardless of how good they are, just because it's quite impressive on the eye. But I think Dobson covers the ground well, very tenacious. As we said, I think on last week's pod as well, guaranteed yellow card whenever he plays. I do like that he's got that bite about him. But I think what's more interesting is the midfield free for the start of the season. Like, what is that for you? I know it seems like we talk about this every single week, but the season's getting closer and closer. Yeah. And I think when we were on tour, you, me, Sooty, and Andy almost had entirely different midfield frees when we spoke about it in like sort of the pubs and stuff. So, as of today, who's your midfield free against Wickham?
I love the fact that we were all sat there in a row, the four of us, you and Exeter Sooty, me and Andy Gilpin, and all of us somehow created four different midfield threes. Then I was sat in between you and Andy. Andy wanted Dobson in there, you wanted Evans. It was all just chaos as Wrexham were running riot over the Whitecaps. I got those dagger looks, when someone chimes in that says something that nobody else agrees with, that you two were all in agreement that I was wrong.
Tell you that Luke Young has left, Nath.
Yeah.
He's not coming back.
I said I wanted James Jones in there, which did not go down well, and no one else seemed to agree with me.
I think the whole stadium went silent, didn't it?
Yeah, everybody stopped and turned around in unison. Even the players. That's where the Whitecaps players stopped. We probably scored. I would say the only one that I think everybody is in agreement with as of today, and maybe we'll get onto some transfer rumour later on, but as of today, I think everyone would pick Elliot Lee. I think you book that. I think that's a no-brainer. No one's not playing Elliot Lee. I thought he had a really good tour, actually. He looks so dynamic. He's so fun to watch, and I think he is such a goal threat for us. We need him to be such a goal threat. I think he's arguably our second biggest goal threat after Mullin. The rest of the strikers I don't see getting double figures as it stands as of today, and Lee I think is someone that could get double figures in League One, so he's absolutely crucial. I'm just going to stick with the back three that made everyone in the stadium look at me in disgust and go George Evans at the base of my midfield, Elliot Lee and James Jones, because I think you need legs, and I think he gives you that. Andy Cannon's played great as well on the tour. That's a toss-up. I mean, I don't feel too strongly either way, but I do think you just need that functional. Maybe it's that Luke Young hangover that I still want, but I think you just need some level of functionality, that level of running, and some of your favourite goals. I'm trying to pitch to you, Rich. Now I'm looking at you in the camera, and I'm trying to convince you to come over to the other side. I'm saying to you that you'll remember one of your favourite Wrexham goals since the takeover was the little tiki-taka against Altrincham, and that deep run was from James Jones. Just remember that when you're about to give your answer now. Just think about that, what I just told you there, that James Jones goal, and I think there's value to having someone like that in there.
You're entitled to having a wrong opinion, mate. That's absolutely fine. But you talk about a goal. It was 2 years ago now, and like I said, I think he's got a real value as a squad player. But I think that opening day of the season, there's an onus on us to put in a real good performance and set a marker and say, look, we aren't just here to make up the numbers. We're not here. We know it's going to be much tougher, much more difficult this season, but why not believe? Why can't we go again? This is Wrexham. We've got this new optimism and momentum that no other team in football has right now. So why can't we go in and do it again? I think that starts with the Wickham game. For me, it's got to be Evans, McLean and Lee. I just think it gives you a bit of everything. You've got the tenacity, you've got the defensive cover, you've got the legs of McLean, the absolute engine, and then you've got that creative spark of Elliot Lee. I just think it's so perfectly balanced, and there are little twists and turns you can make to it, and you can change players during the game quite sort of seamlessly, I think, nowadays. But for me, I think it's nonsense what you're talking.
I'm going to caveat that and say that I would have put McLean up front on the opening day. That's perhaps controversial, but I spoke to someone about this the other day, and I'm growing more convinced by the day that I know he played against Chelsea, and I wasn't overly convinced, but I think of the options up there, and I know I've been sort of riding the Sam Dolby train to his redemption arc. I think I would not be surprised at all if we saw Marriott and McLean up top, and maybe that's a way for me to get around the fact that I wouldn't put him in the midfield. For the
Do you not just feel that we lack too much physicality like that, though? I just feel like a big guy up top.
I feel like lacking physicality in James McLean, sort of, they're an oxymoron. They don't really work.
It's more in the air, though. Do you know what I mean? I mean, the amount of stuff, like having Dolby and Palmer, just the runs they make and the way they can occupy a centre back and create sort of room for everyone else. My only concern with McLean as sort of a striking option is he does almost try too hard. He's always run out of position to track balls down. He'll go out wide. He'll drop back. Because his work ethic is so high that you then lose that focal point in attack. And I think the only way Marriott's going to function as a striker is if he's playing alongside someone who's making those runs that create the space for him. If he's got someone who's diverting defenders, who's occupying someone for him. And, I just think that, I guess with Barnett and River, and you go and get the delivery into the box. But, so many high balls. I'm just not sure who's winning those headers if you've not got Dolby or Palmer up top, personally.
So remind me then. So what was your midfield? Was Evans, McLean, and Lee?
Yeah.
So that's leaving out. But then that's really curious, isn't it? Because I think Andy and Sutty, I don't want to speak. They'll shout us. They'll drop us a text if this is wrong. But I'm pretty sure both of them were pushing for Dobson to play. I think Parky has brought him in to play and speaks very highly of him. Spoke about him even as a potential captain. I'm not sure that'll be the case. But again, I think the armband is really interesting. I know that we'll probably have an answer on that soon, which I would imagine before the next podcast. Definitely.
We had a conversation about this as well, didn't we, on tour? Because we said who our choice for captain was. And I just think it's Paul Mullin, personally. But I agree with you. That doesn't mean I think that's who it should be. I think it should be James McLean.
See, I would give it to Owen O'Connell. I just think a centre back is a good position to have. He will likely play almost all the games if he's fit. I also don't hate George Evans. I'm sure he's a bit quieter, but I do think there's a value in a captain that can calm you down and can bring a level of tranquility to the situation. And I'm wondering whether, for me, I've said it already a month ago, I just don't think a striker is the right person. Strikers are so focused and they play on such an edge to score goals, and that is what makes it great. But I think you just need that. Most good captains, or all the good captains, are very calm and composed, and they have a way with the referee, and they see the game as well. I think there's a value, an immense value, to just seeing the game. Now, we had this disagreement about you don't think it should be a goalkeeper. I think in the end, I kind of came over to your side on that one, because if the captain is the only player that can speak to the referee, we can't have a Conquo running out to the halfway line to separate a dispute. So I've kind of moved away from that initial take. But I do think an Evans, an O'Connell, somebody like that's right slap bang in the middle of the park, that is quite a composed character, is very talented. And I don't want to give away too many answers in your 4-4-2 season preview for Wrexham. Go and get that now. It's in the latest issue of 4-4-2. But you said in that you think O'Connell is underrated by a lot of people, maybe even outside of Wrexham circles. I don't know exactly what you meant, but is one of the players that is underrated. I think he'd be a great captain's choice. But then when I look at it and go, what's likely to happen over what I want to happen? James McLean's worn that armband a lot of times, and if he gets it, I would expect him to play, because whoever gets it should play. So we'll soon find out. I'm very curious either way. If it is McLean, then I would imagine he plays a lot more. So what does that mean for Revan? What does that mean for my beloved James Jones? And I've got to start the new. I feel like are we sticking with the Barney Appreciation Society, or am I allowed to sort of start taking members for my James Jones fan club?
You can have your own little cutaway group if you want, your little breakaway group. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, if you are watching on YouTube, maybe drop in the comments below who you think should be Wrexham's captain next season. We will also put a graphic out, I think, on X or on Instagram as well, won't we, in the coming days, just to get your opinions ahead of the new season, and we'll read some of those out next week. So, Nath, the black kit launched today. We've already seen two brilliant collars on Wrexham shirts already, with the red and the gold. Must say as well, seeing the red kit in person, it did grow on me. I'm still not saying I'm going to buy it, but I was impressed by the way it looked, really. I do like the clean sort of design and how classic it looks. I'm a fan of collared shirts. If anyone saw the pictures of us in Vancouver will attest to. The black kit then out today, and obviously we're recording this on the Wednesday, so you'll all have seen the Wrexham kit by now, I'm sure. It's got the tribute to Gresswood Colliery disaster on it, because that's the 90th anniversary. That'll be commemorated on September the 22nd. So there's a tribute to that on the nape of the shirt with 266 victims. Also, because it is our 160th anniversary year, there is a button-up collar with a more retro look to it, dragon scale pattern embedded with the design. These aren't my words, by the way. You can tell I'm reading this straight off the club website, can't you? It's not how I actually talk. 100% recycled polyester fabric. Wow. But the Wrexham crest is in silicone, as is the Macron Hero logo, both in a striking white to contrast with the shirt, as is front of shirt sponsor United Airlines and HP on the sleeves. But yeah, I've been really impressed with the kits, to be honest, Nath. I think they are going to stand the test of time. We've spoken, haven't we, in the past, how what's perverse about a kit is if you achieve something great in it, it amplifies what the kit means to you. But I think that these three kits are just quite bold, stunning designs, to be honest. I'm really pleased that we've kept a consistency throughout the three. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they sort of look next season. Also looking forward, for those of us who are gamers, to seeing them on FIFA next season as well. I think having the red and black kits will look good in career mode. Hoping that they finally put Wrexham's third kit on a FIFA game as well next season. I know it's EAFC, and the players were at EA Sports last week. I think some of them, getting behind the scenes tour, you'd like to think getting sort of scanned for the next game would be cool, wouldn't it? Imagine having Paul Mullen's Paul Mullen wasn't there, though, was he?
No,
Paul Mullen's got a face on your FIFA, hasn't he?
We're just going to get sort of Callum Burton, he was there, a Mark Howard face scan. Jordan Davis face scan, a Sam Dolby face scan. So we got all the big hits. Stuff. This is what it's all about. But you know what? In all fairness, I thought the lads got some great trips and memories out on the tour. They were. Mullin was enjoying the UFC over in Manchester. He wasn't. I think it was. They made a big announcement, said, and in the crowd tonight, Wayne Rooney, and big cheer, and then it was like, and in the crowd as well, Paul Mullin. And then that was it. They just moved on to the main event. So Wayne Rooney and Paul. I'm sure that was a surreal moment for Mullin, given Rooney, one of the most famous strikers to ever come from that part of the world. But yeah, it was the kit. I'll get back to the kit. I'm getting sidetracked from a Callum Burton face scan here. The kit itself, it looks very nice, Rich. I am curious how many black kits we'll have over the coming years, because we know how much Rob he loves them. He absolutely loves them. So, is that just going to become our default away kit now? Potentially. And there are things you can do to change it up. This isn't the subliminated black that you think's sort of now out of fashion, and I would quite like still. But it is a very trendy design, and I think what's been really nice on these kits is United Airlines have shown a bit of flexibility on the colour scheme, because typically brands are, quite fussy about the colour scheme being the colour scheme. You don't, for example, I'm trying to think of a brand.
Well, when
that,
I worked when I worked for the club, volunteered for the club. God, that is grandiose, isn't it? Basically, I think it was 2016, 2015. There was Wrexham were releasing the yellow and red away kit. I think we wore it on the Portugal preseason tour. Yellow kit with red detailing and had the blue Ivor Williams logo on the front, and it just didn't quite look right. It was very contrasting. Yellow, red, and blue is not really a colour combination. But I had seen a prototype in Geraint's office that had the Ivor Williams trailer logo in red. They just completely got all the colours off the logo. But the actual Ivor Williams trailers, which they have a right to do, just said, no, this is a non-starter because that just doesn't look enough like our logo. And when people see it, they don't sort of relate it to our trailer brand. So, like I said, that's a very relative example in Wrexham's own history, recent history, of a brand who have said, look, this is our logo. It comes in this colour. That's how it's going to look on all the kits, which, fully understandable. You can't begrudge them for that. But United, I'm very glad that they have had the sort of foresight from a selfish point of view to adjust their logo and adapt it for Wrexham kits.
Because you imagine, had that been the blue United logo, imagine a blue logo on the gold,
none of the kits,
for example. No, but I'm saying imagine that blue logo on the gold or on the red, or it just would have stood out a lot more. I think from a brand perspective, you'd have gone, wow, that is the first thing your eye sees on the kit, but it wouldn't look appealing. And I know that's a selfish thing for us as fans, but would that hurt the sales? I don't know, maybe not, because it's so popular to wear a Wrexham shirt, but the overall product looks a lot nicer, and I think even the guys at United would agree that it's still prominent, and they're still getting the players flying on United Airlines, and it's still getting all these different ways, this different tie-ins, but it's not this really gaudy blue logo on the front. It is specific, set to the colours of the kit. And from the image we'd seen a day early, or when we're recording this now, the kit coming out, it was a nice sort of white trim, wasn't it, on the black and white kit?
I love it.
It just, I mean, we're really contrasting, because I really did like the black kit from last season. I still really like that, and I know you're big on collars, but I do quite like that little button-up number. We looked really good in it. And really, the only kit that never grew on me, Rich, of all the takeover shirts, because I like most of them, the only one that never really grew on me was that blue away number. That I just that baby blue number that
I love. Yeah, that.
Just never. Do you might even have that one? Do you have it?
It's behind me right now.
Okay, right.
But it is framed, so that's quite difficult.
You don't need to pick it up. You don't need to pick it up. Jacob Mendy's away shirt.
But I just never really liked that white Macron, Macron third kit when we beat Stockport home. The sort of Wales knockoff. Personally, just
like sit around reds and greens.
Red and green, yeah. But that's enough kit chat, isn't it? Because we'll speak about it all day. If you pick up a kit, I'm sure we'll see them on social media. But yeah, I think it's a good selection this year. Really contrasting, very bold and iconic, and you can clearly tell, the kind of bespoke numbers as well. It seems from us that these two, that doesn't just feel like they're just sort of generic templates. So that's nice to see.
Right, Rich, before we move on to Fleetwood and fantasy football and all these other things, I do want to give a shout out, because this will cap off our Vancouver segment. Well, firstly, before I go serious and talk about something that's very, very important to a lot of people, I do want to say that I'm that type of traveller. I hope I managed to edit it out of the vlog so much, but I'm that type of traveller that when I go away, I feel like I fall in love every 2 seconds. I basically just left the house and I walked the streets of Vancouver, and I thought I'm in love with almost everyone that I saw. So that's very good fun. But one of the things we did learn in Vancouver was the Terry Fox run. Now, Ryan Reynolds has been designing the t-shirts every year. I've got one on now, as you can see, no matter what. And then there's a message on the back as well. But the Terry Fox run is coming to Wrexham, Rich. So let me pull up the details, because, and I'll also read it out because I know for the benefit of audio listeners, but the Terry Fox run, I mean, Rich, when we were out there, just quickly while I sort of pull the screen up, I mean, we saw lots of signage for Terry Fox, and a lot of people were really rallying behind, him and his legacy and everything like that.
Yeah, it was, it's just seeing someone who meant so much to a nation, really, and a guy whose legacy is still remembered all this time, all this time on. He died in 1981, and all this time later, he still has such a fundamental place as sort of Canadian sort of history and legacy and just what he means to the country. They have not forgotten about him at all. He sort of embodies the entire spirit of the nation, really. He's someone that they just really get behind. He's the work he did for cancer research, his incredible story. And there was a really good ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on Terry Fox as well, for anyone who isn't familiar with it, with his story. But we were told about him, how he's this long distance runner, successful sort of basketball player in his youth. He had his right leg amputated when he was diagnosed with a form of cancer. He carried on running even though he had an artificial leg. He carried on then playing wheelchair basketball in Vancouver as well. And in order to try and raise as much money for cancer research as possible, he began the Marathon of Hope in 1980, which was a cross-country run where he was going to try and raise as much money as possible. I can't remember the exact details of it, but he was just doing, was it like almost like a marathon a day of something ridiculous? There was just all these ridiculous. Here it says on the website. It says, he had to end his quest after 143 days and having ran 3,339 miles. And yeah, he died during this run. But since September, since then, he's raised over £850 million Canadian dollars. So he's this incredible charity fundraiser who's done so much. If you watch it on YouTube, Nath has put the sort of details online as well. And his incredible story is just still told in Canada. It means so much to the people. And yeah, it's amazing that the Canada and North Wales sort of connections are going to collaborate, and we are going to get the Terry Fox run in the UK in October this year.
Yes. So, it is somebody that is a hero to Ryan Reynolds, and any hero of Ryan Reynolds, which I'm sure we can all get behind, means a lot to him. And he did put a message out about how, two of his big loves, the Terry Fox run or Terry Fox and Wrexham, are coming together. So the Terry Fox run is coming to Wrexham 13th of October, which is a Sunday, 12 till 3 at Bellevue Park in Wrexham. Now I'm showing you some of the details here. You can register and ride or walk 2K or 5K on that day. It's free to enter. It's not competitive. Open to all, and they're just trying to raise funds for cancer research for the Institute of Cancer Research. And as Rich said, they've raised over £550 million. This is the first ever Terry Fox run in Wales, and there was lots and lots of excitement. And also, if you're a Canadian citizen, there is a competition to get to Wrexham, have an all expenses paid trip to Wrexham. That is only open to Canadian citizens, and I'll try and put some put details of that in the description on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple and all those places. So if you are listening from Canada and you haven't heard about this competition, it sounds ace. You get to, I think it was a Thanksgiving dinner at the Turf, Rich. There was also a gig at the Turf, and tickets to a match, flights over, accommodation, and all that good stuff. But yeah, Terry Fox run. It sounds like such a worthwhile cause. And if I don't want to make any promises for now, but if we can do it, Rich, we'll definitely try, won't we, on October the 13th?
Yeah, it'd be great. Obviously, work commitments for both, I guess, pending for that. But it would definitely be amazing to try and be involved if we can. And yeah, if you're listening, you don't have to be the superstar runner yourself. You don't have to have ran for years and years. You don't have to be competitive. Just give it a go and help raise some money and come together and celebrate the legacy of an incredible human being who, all these years later, is still inspiring people to this day. So, Nath, as well as Fleetwood coming up this weekend, we've also had the TV picks announced till January, and we were expecting it to sort of be ripped apart and our weekends ruined. But only 2 Wrexham matches have initially been moved now for TV, on top of the the initial batch earlier in the year as well. You put a graphic out on our socials as well. So Mansfield at home has been moved to a 12:30 kickoff, and Bristol Rovers away just before Christmas has been moved to a 12:30 kickoff as well, both to be shown on Sky Sports Football. It's very good that the EFL have stuck to their promise of getting those TV fixtures out as early as possible. I mean, Sooty in one of our chats was, if you want to know, if you're complaining about Wrexham having 2 games moved for TV, I think Sooty said that there's been an additional 13 games moved, Leeds United games moved.
That's right.
Yeah.
13 games, for Leeds.
On top of the 3 they already had moved in the last group, so that's 16 Leeds United games moved for TV already, and maybe that's a word of warning about if Wrexham ever get to the Championship and become one of the big hitters there, because Leeds United at 3 o'clock and 3 o'clock Saturdays just aren't a thing anymore.
Well, we were quite worried, weren't we? You spoke about it a few weeks ago, about those Thursday night slots, those dreaded Thursday slots for League 1 and 2. From what I could see from the release before Christmas, it is only 2 League 1 games on a Thursday, one of which is, I think, Shrewsbury against Exeter, the big one, and Charlton against somebody else. I think Shrewsbury and Charlton were the home teams for those games. Wrexham managed to avoid that. We have had Bolton move to the Sunday. We have had Birmingham move to the Monday. I mean, you have to say, Rich, given what I was fearing, I think Wrexham have got off quite lightly for the first half of the campaign.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased with it. I would have the word of warning that the key word there was first half of the campaign, because I think once you get into the business end and people know what's up for grabs, if Wrexham are in a promotion push, I'd expect to see a lot of games move for TV then, because there'll be so much demand and external intrigue. And I think initially it's kind of a bit of an experiment from the EFL and Sky Sports to see what type of disruption they can cause, how interested people will be in some of those other slots as well. If when those Europa League games are on a Thursday night and people are watching Shrewsbury instead, if the numbers are good on Sky Sports, they might say, oh, look, there is worthwhile in this moving more high-profile teams perhaps for that in the new year. So initially, I'm very pleased. From a selfish point of view as well, it means that we should be able to watch lots of Wrexham games as well as doing our weekend job as well. And yeah, it's never ideal, but if there's ever going to be a circumstance of moving a game for TV, it's really good to see it done as early as it has been for now. But I will still reserve some element of judgment until January and we see what it holds in the new year.
I think though, but we'll get onto Fleetwood now. But I think we've done pretty well. I think you can allow yourself to feel happy, Rich. I feel like you're worrying about what's going to come after Christmas.
It's that North American optimism, isn't it? I was so happy and carefree when I was in Vancouver. Now I'm back home. Now I've got to be pessimistic.
Also, Rich, we should shout out that the international fans do extend beyond North America. This was pointed out to us. I think we might have fallen into a trap of giving lots of credit, but the Aussies are getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and those over in Asia, and
that's who we saw last week.
I know,
and you've obviously got the Brazilian supporters as well. There's the Italian fans as well, who are obviously doing a lot of work, and there's those great montages as well, aren't there, on X from the Italian fan?
I think it's Giacomo. I saw that Mullen even shared that when it had been 3 years for Mullen. Well, I say that to say we did get a couple of messages. We haven't forgotten about you. We've just, we're just falling into a little bit of a trap after our
even
tour.
My nephew, he supports Wrexham from rural Japan. He goes to football train every week and wears his Ivor Williams Peter Gwyn potato shirt. The green away. The Kwame Thomas sort of shirt that I recall him in. But yeah, even in Japan, there's some Wrexham fans. Although I don't think he gets many people stopping him asking what shirt that is. But yeah, people being repped in camo, rural Japan, so that's quite cool as well.
There you go. That is what it's all about. Start them young in rural Japan. But yeah, no. So lots of love to everyone around the world. But Rich, as I'm saying before we move on to Fleetwood, it's all right. You are able to be like, this is a good thing. I can feel happy and worry about January in the new year. That's 2025, man. We don't need to worry about that right now.
Well, saying this, having been on tour, and maybe it was all the, and no offense to this, I was about to be very positive, but I never really agreed with the Canadian beer. But maybe it was after drinking so much Canadian beer. I just felt so positive for the new season. I think it was speaking to other fans, the whole optimism, the feel-good factor on the club. And yeah, we'll do our League One predictions next week. But right now, I'm feeling quite confident about what we can achieve next season. And Fleetwood this weekend, then, will be the dress rehearsal for Wickham. You'd expect Parky to give most of his players sort of 60, 70 minutes, and then some of them maybe play the full 90. I guess, is that how you see it? This is a dress rehearsal, or do you think he will switch things up and try and wrap some players in cotton wool ahead of the new season?
Is it one of those dress rehearsals where we're still having the scripts in hand, so it's kind of a dress rehearsal, or
you've not quite gone live.
You know what I mean?
It's not opening night.
Exactly, you've still got the script there because you sort of know in the back of your mind it's not the actual show, so you know that you can have it and it's all right. You're running it through. What I would do is I would throw the scripts out and I would treat it exactly as a normal game. I would give as many people 90 as I can. I thought I'd pull my microphone out then. Give as many people 90 as I can and just treat it. Use 5 subs. Just use 5 subs. I know you've got the temptation of let's change all 11 or whatever. Don't do that. Give Arthur 90. Give your back five as much as you can. I would honestly just treat it like a game. Make the subs that you think you would in a normal game. And that's the best tune-up now, because I think even in that Vancouver game, some players were getting 70, 72 minutes, something like that. The natural progression is you're not going to have everyone playing 90, but I wouldn't be... I don't think you can go into the final game of a preseason worried about potential injury, because what's to say that they don't get injured 5 minutes into Wickham anyway?
Yeah, that's very true.
So,
I guess the other caveat as well is Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup will be a rest for most of the players anyway, won't it? That'll probably be a completely changed squad. So
but then I also think, Rich, it's August. No one should be tired at this point.
I know, but it's not about being tired. It's about protecting you for the whole season ahead, because it's going to be such a grueling campaign. It's about managing minutes, I think. So I'm not saying they're going to be tired and players won't want to play against Sheffield United, but I'm saying I think that game will be that'll be wholesale changes. Personally,
you're probably out of the Carabao Cup by the end of August. I mean, what did we have last year? We beat Wigan on a penalty shootout at home.
And went out to Bradford.
So it was over before August even ended. So
yeah, but I don't think anyone cares, do they?
Probably not. But I would be surprised if there's a wholesale. I don't know. I would expect, for example, Arthur to play both those games. I know he's the goalkeeper. I'd expect a similar backline. It's just the really problematic positions for Wrexham where you need to preserve are the wing backs and probably your sort of attacking midfielder. They're the ones that seem to put in the most miles.
Your centre backs, your strikers.
I think your Barneys. For example, Bolton might play against Sheffield. Anyway, we've got plenty of time to do Sheffield United, but Fleetwood, I would say I would go with the team that you believe. We really
go off on tangents on this podcast, don't we?
We're
previewing the Sheffield United game now.
We're too comfortable just chatting to each other about nonsense, which we do on a daily basis, and then we sort of hit record, and then it's the same thing, which is, we shouldn't be surprised by. But Fleetwood, I would treat it exactly. I would throw away the script. Don't worry about reading the lines. I would do the exact game as you think it would go against Wickham. Make the 5 subs, because you can do that against Wickham. But I would try my best to get key people 90 if I could.
Yeah, we will see. We'll see what happens this weekend in terms of that. Nath, we promise every single week to read out emails. We've had an email saying we don't read out emails, despite promising them, which,
this is true.
Is a valid criticism.
That's fair. That's fair.
We can't really do much about that. We will read out 2 emails today then to end the podcast. First, the one came from Guy Jackson. He emailed us a few days ago saying, just wanted to say he's been a Wrexham fan since the mid-60s and saw as a teenager at Yale the great John Neal teams of the 70s and the promotion to the equivalent of the Championship. He says, I have recently relocated to Dubai and in the heat of the summer have started to watch your podcast on YouTube. I think the format works well. Thank you, Guy. That is a very nice thing to say. Thank you very much. He says, being an older Wrexham fan, I'm living the dream since Rob and Ryan's takeover. I'm hoping for at least to challenge for the playoffs next season and would take promotion this season over consolidation, as we can do that in the Championship while playing some great teams. He said, you discussed the Valley in an earlier pod, and I visited in 1978 with a group from Yale, all of his mates, where we lost 1-0. It needed work on it then, and I think it closed for several years when they ground sheded Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. He just says, keep up the great work, and he's looking forward to seeing what we can do. Interesting point that he made there, that we keep on talking about consolidation. Why don't you try to get as high as you can first and then consolidate? It's a very fair sort of assessment to make. Why do you want to stop the momentum that we've built now? The second podcast is the one we've spoken about for ages, it seems. It was about stadium redevelopment, and in particular, that message from the Dubai Reds, who had messaged about just their sort of... I do think at some point we've got to turn this into an article, because he's putting some really good pictures here of what he reckons we could do with the stadium to try and sort of move stands around and make the most of the space we've got behind what is now the sort of the cop and behind the paddock as well. I'm just trying to find it now, because right on cue my emails definitely crashed and have logged me out.
Well, you know what I'll do then, Rich, because we are slick production. I'm going to give another plug to the fantasy EFL. Now, I know that Rich is gritted teeth, desperate not to do it, but we are going to do it every week. We are going to keep up with our teams. We've had loads and loads of sign-ups. I think over 100 players already, and you're all fighting it out for what we're now going to call the RobRyanRed 10 trophy. I think Red 10 are going to help us out with the trophy. They're very good sponsors to us. We are going to have a little trophy for the inaugural winner. I'm going to show you now some of the. I mean, this is. If I
we had
can
an
share my
email, didn't we,
screen.
this week from Jimmy Fox saying FFL Fantasy Football League sounds amazing. How do I join your league? This is how you do it, guy. Just Jimmy, sorry. There is a link in the description below where you put in our code. So you go to the Fantasy EFL website, and when it says to join a league, you put in our unique code, which will be in the description below. Nate, is this your team that you're teasing this year?
Yeah,
People able to get behind the scenes?
Shall I show you? This is it. Look,
I hate to say this to you, but Somerville has just left Leeds United today, so that's going to be that's a bad start. Yeah, he's going to West Ham.
Oh, okay, that's good. That is what we need. That is my level of knowledge. I'm the person running this league, and I had no idea about that, so that's good. But if we can forget, just pretend that you don't actually see Somerville on there. Just all sort of shut your left eye, maybe, and then that'll be fine. But if you can't see my team, you're listening to it. I've got in goal Arthur Okonkwo. I mean, surely he's just going to be one of the best goalkeepers in League One again. Even if we aren't the most robust, he'll make lots of saves. He made a brilliant save, I thought, in the Whitecaps game when they should have scored. I think they were through. He made a brilliant save. I've got Ethan Ampadu. Maybe that's some Wales bias. Sean Raggett has dropped down from. So this is just an idea of showing you what it's like. You're allowed 2 players per team. It doesn't matter about. You could have everyone from the Championship, everyone from League One, everyone from League Two. I've got Alfie May up front because I think Birmingham are going to absolutely dominate the league, which makes sense. Elliot Lee because love him, and he I think is our second biggest goal threat after Mullin, and we know Mullin's not going to be fit for the first game of the season, even though he's been picked by 21.5% of players for week 1.
He's the second most selected player in all of the in all of
League
EFL.
One. Yeah,
in all of League One.
In all of League One, he is the second most picked player, even though he won't be fit. I've got Lemon Hay Evans, who's with MK Dons, and I think they'll be pretty good. But that one I might change. I'm definitely going to have to change Somerville up front, and that is my team. So look, if you want to join all the code, there's a code. You got to make your team first, and then you can join our league. There's lots and lots of players. I read out some names last week. We're going to have a reminder this week, a reminder next week, and then the season will start, I believe, on that Friday night or that Thursday, Barnsley, Mansfield, or whenever it is. So do not hesitate. Get your team in. It's 7 players. It doesn't really matter. You've got so many players to pick from. You've got, as you can see here, you've got the Championship. You pick all the players in the Championship. You've got League One or League Two. Lots and lots of people picking Billy Sharp in League Two. In the Championship, lots of people are picking Schmodix. He may end up leaving. He's now left. Ampadu's very popular. Callum O'Hare, who we'll probably see in that game against Sheffield United. So look, there's lots and lots of people there, Rich, to play. All the details are in the description. There's going to be a direct link code and a sort of, numbers and letters code that you can just input manually. So do not hesitate. Do join the league. It'll be a lot of fun. And you're playing for the most prestigious prize in all of sport, the RobRyanRed 10 trophy. And whatever he says, Rich is going to play.
Yeah, and whatever people say about me doing none of the work, that was my name. So it didn't take long to come up with. Like I said, the email from the Dubai Reds, great email this. It's very lengthy though, so have to bear in mind with us. This is from Rhys Davis of the Dubai Reds. He says, sorry for the long email, but just been thinking about this for a few years. Hopefully you can hear me out. Before you carry on reading, my job is master planning for construction projects in the Middle East, the UAE and Saudi. So I know how long these kind of projects take. It's going to be a long phase project. In my view, there are 2 options for the redevelopment of the racecourse. Option 1 is a full rebuild of the current footprint as it is. New Cop, New Yale, Tech End, and fill the corners in. Or you can rotate the stadium, with Mould Road being the new behind the goal. Aviva Stadium Dublin is probably a good visual for that end. Option 1 has limitations, not much scope for capacity increase or compliance to UEFA standards, certain amount for delegates, press, TV station equipment, car park, etc. Also limited footprint because of the flats Unicar Park on the Mould Road. In seriousness, you would probably be looking at around a maximum capacity of £22,000 if the stadium stayed as it is and you just filled in the sides and tried to build as much as you can onto it. But I don't think that's enough, and it will take years to complete. Option 2, however, is a massive project, but it will allow a much bigger stadium and space. You could get 35 to 40,000 people in it, in my opinion. Land acquisition of the flats and the car park area are a must, though. He's attached a phasing plan and some cool graphics that he's made himself, which we will try have a tweet at some point or make them into an article. And this is his this is all focused on idea number 2 now of rotating the stadium. I think similar to what they kind of got to do at Old Trafford as well, is they're going to make the most of the ground. They've got their build on the ground they already own, but they're going to reshape it so they optimize it a bit better. He says phase 1 would be to proceed with the current plan to build a new COP. He's also said that with this approach, you can carry on playing at the Caidras. There'll be no ground share. He always references Atletico Bilbao's San Mamés Stadium as a case study or lesson learned, where they rebuilt it and redeveloped it while still staying there. He says phase 2 after the new COP would be to carry on with the stadium at 16k, same as current format and as operational as it is. The new COP would then include a provisional tunnel in the corner adjacent to the paddock. Well, after a long negotiated period for the flats, you could start to extend the new COP, in effect become the new touchline, and loop around for the corners and behind the goal. Stage 2B would be, at a point pre-season, you would demolish the Wrexham Lager stand and build a temporary stand to maintain capacity. Using the new tunnel entrance in the paddock corner, this would make sense of the new dugouts planned in the Mould Road stand from the 25-26 season. The reason for the temp stand is that stadiums take a very long time to build. There's always some delays, but we still need to play without moving to a ground share. This will be a space for a temporary stand so capacity is not significantly reduced. Keep that for one season to finish the rest of the stadium. Stage 3, pitch rotate. The next pre-season, you would switch the pitch 90 degrees. That means that 2/3 of the stadium is operational at an approximate 25,000 plus capacity, because obviously you'd have the new COP still. Mould Road, new COP, and the extension. Bus behind goal plus 2 corners. This stage, you demolish the tech end and extend from the corner, roughly from where the temporary club offices down to PG 6 and 7. You have a new footprint to work with. The penalty box at the tech end becomes the front row-ish. Stage 4, final stage. Oh, no, it's not penultimate stage, sorry. I have not done a completed design for this as I wanted to show the change. I would use this as the away end, but will be much shorter than the other stands, hence the Aviva Stadium reference. This stand will connect with the tech end corner, probably keeping a similar capacity to 3,500 to 5,000. And stage 5, possible upper tiers to take us to the magic 55,000 capacity stadium. Hope this makes sense, and I would like to know your thoughts. Please feel free to share. It's just a bit of pre-season fun. Nath, we've got the attachments on email. Yes. And I'll give you another job. Might be worth trying to put them on screen while I talk over that for people who watch on YouTube.
Okay.
Because Nate doesn't do enough work around here either, does he?
So, what we'll also do, let's make that into an article, though, because that sounds absolutely fascinating. And I'm just listening to you there. So I wasn't even sort of following along there, Rich. But I will do while you're talking along. Because I just thought that was fascinating, because I thought, in my head, I'm like, okay, rotating 90. Okay, rotate. I'm just not very good at, I don't know, science and kind
visualizing things.
Yeah, anything that involved like that level of critical thinking was just not my forte, Rich. So I'm going to see if I can find it. Here we go. Stadium redevelopment and the various graphics. Let's see if I can do this then, shall I? Because this is the glorious stuff. This is what I'm saying. Do we need to become more sophisticated, or are we just, do people like it as we are? I'm not really sure.
It's quite rough and ready, this podcast, but yeah, we'll get that sorted for when you watch it on YouTube anyway. Yeah, it's there. For people watching on YouTube, they'll be able to see some images of it now. If you're listening on the audio platform, you're as days confused, and you probably turned this off 5 minutes ago, to be honest, because it was all just waffling. So yeah,
I'm looking at these pictures now. We're going to wrap it up in a second, but I'm looking at these pictures now, and I've got rid of it. And I'll do one more picture, because why not? They're very detailed. I mean, you can tell that it's his job to... I'm looking at that. I mean, that looks huge. Does that not just look insanely big? That version of Element that you can see there?
Yeah, the walls look ridiculously big. If you watch it on YouTube, you'll see what we mean.
I mean, that looks huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching... What I'd say, if you the audio... I'm going to make Rich figure out a way to put all this onto an article on the website, and then you'll be able to understand what we're saying.
If you only listen to the audio, I trust you. We are looking at stadium pictures here. When Nathan said it is absolutely huge, he's been blown away by it.
There's no need for you to drag us into that gutter there. We've been waffling on too long now.
Well, it started off with an email suggesting that we go to the best adult entertainment place in Vancouver,
an adult dance hall. That's what we said. A little dance floor.
Yeah, and now it's gone full circle. But no, thank you very much, as always, for joining us on RobRyanRed. Thank you to everyone who made that trip to Vancouver possible. We are so grateful to all of you. We love that we got to meet so many of you who listen to the podcast as well, and to be part of your sort of Wrexham world was crazy. Jeff as well as the host. Jeff said something funny. He said it was like being in a fever dream for him. I think it was on the Friday when we were in the pub, because he was sat down with you, me, Sooty and Andy, and then Wayne walked in from the Turf, and then Scoot walked in from the Declan Swans, and he was like, it's like being in an episode of Welcome to Wrexham here. It's just everywhere he looked was sort of Wrexham royalty from Wayne and Scoot's point of view. But thank you to everyone who watched the vlogs as well. They are on YouTube, so please, if you haven't already, do subscribe to help us on there. Comment on them as well and let us know what you made of them. Nath, I'm done talking now. Do you want to sign us off?
Yes. The season is nearly here. It feels so surreal now. We've got one more game, one more preseason game, and then it is Wycombe. We will be previewing that next week. We'll be doing our League One predictions next week. Thank you so much to Red 10 People Development. Without them, we wouldn't have made it to Vancouver or been able to keep this podcast going. Thank you to the TalkSport Fan Network for all their constant support. And I'm not sure Rich is still doing it now. You'll know when you listen to the audio. Rich is still plugging McDelivery. I don't know who's been axed. He might have been replaced by me talking about Sky. So Sky Sports Plus, remember that if you're in the UK, that is a way you can watch the game, specifically Wycombe. And thank you as well to Hypnotic, who do the video stings on YouTube and then the audio stings on Spotify, Apple, and all the other good things. So, Rich, we need a bit of a longer break between seeing each other now. We've had a lot of each other. You've had it a little bit too salty, and it's been slightly too rich for me. But I will see you again very soon after Fleetwood. We'll tee the season up, mate. And see you again next time.
The Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Bay.